Test, test, test.
Yo, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Starbucks with Jim and DiNardo. I, of course, am your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, my co-host, Jim Rosati. Jim, how you doing this glorious Wednesday? Or Tuesday. I'm sorry, we're early again.
Yeah, Tuesday. Doing pretty good. I think this is day 14 of my quarantine. So
Yes. I think the last time we talked, you mentioned how you're in quarantine, but no news. And I'm sorry to hear. Sounds like you're a bit under the weather, but you're holding up all right.
Yeah, it's fine. It's basic. At this point, it's sort of just like a head cold. So, yeah, I'll make it through.
Awesome. Well, that's good to hear. So, I guess since last week, a lot has happened. Man, I mean, it feels like a month ago, which really it was. About a month ago, the offseason was going slow for everybody, but especially Pirates. After we endured, last offseason as well. It just seemed like, man, here we go again. Josh Bell was traded on, Christmas Eve. He was traded, which is a bit of a surprise. Did our emergency podcast for that. But, I think one of our things we're, wondering this year is like, is there going to be a whole lot of action? I think Joe Musgrove made the most sense. He probably was going to get traded. After that, who knows, right? I mean, we talk about how all these guys have plummeted in value. So like, what's Cherington going to do with that value? When's the timing of the trade is going to happen? Joe Musgrove gets traded last week, right? We rushed to do this on Tuesday morning again. I left for Key West. You got COVID. And then during it, like Jameson Taillon gets traded now. So when we had this whole offseason of just nothing happening, right? Drawn out again, you and I and Tyler thinking about what are we going to talk about, creating things in our minds. And now it's like there's just a whole rush of things happening. So as mentioned, Joe Musgrove got traded last week. Pretty big package, right? A lot of guys, a lot of things coming over. We talked about a little bit of them. And then on Sunday, on my drive home from Key West, of all things, Jameson Taillon gets traded now. And another a big package. I mean, there's a lot, four players coming back in this. So we're definitely going to talk about Jameson Taillon in this show. Definitely going to talk about this return. And I guess let's start it off with the fact, just very simple. Were you shocked that Jameson Taillon was traded basically right now, this week?
Yeah. No, I was not expecting this to happen, mainly because I didn't think anybody was going to necessarily give up anything substantial for him. So I figured, hey, he doesn't really have much value right now. Let's see him take the mound, see if he can regain any sort of value. So, I mean, the guy hasn't pitched in a year and a half.
Right.
So coming off a second Tommy John surgery, who knows what he's going to be. But yeah, I was surprised. I didn't think this was going to happen. Someone brought up on Twitter too. I want to say, I think it was Pat Lackey, but I wonder, it makes you think here, like the Yankees gave up a pretty decent package here, but they were probably, I mean, I know Mackey said, there were a few clubs that are interested in Taillon, but the Yankees were probably just bidding against themselves. It was probably a situation where they were like, hey, we're kicking the tires on Taillon, and Charrington was probably like, we don't have to trade him right now. We will if you offer us the right thing, right? So it was probably more Ben naming his price on him, and the Yankees were able to meet it. So I'm a little surprised, but hey, it's total rebuild now. It is
Well,
it
that's
is
fair.
completely being torn down. So
Right. And I'm with
yeah.
you. Now, it was rumored that apparently Tampa Bay was in it to the end as well. Or they came in later, and there's some discussions. But right, I mean, all I clearly heard was the Yankees, but clubs were interested. So you're right.
Mhm.
I mean, we don't technically know. It could have been a lot of inside stuff being leaked to generate, traction here. Like, all right, well, Cashman, like you said, there's teams interested, and I don't have to trade them, so give me something. I'm with you as a fact of I am shocked that he was traded. Um, I left Key West. You got COVID. Has to be a country song. I think
It'd probably
Murray
be a
just
good one.
posted that. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good country song. But you know, he didn't have to get traded. He's coming off the second Tommy John. I think the fact that why I'm shocked isn't so much of Charrington's side, and Taillon himself in that sense. It's that I'm shocked that teams were willing to trade, and we'll talk about this, but with this, this package here, something of value for Jameson Taillon without seeing him pitch one day coming off a second Tommy John. Like, I'm more shocked that teams wanted him opposed to Charrington willing to trade him. So, and honestly, I think of all things that's been terrible, with COVID and the situation of MLB and such, I really think it's because of the nature of MLB that teams like the Yankees, right, the big bad Yankees, are willing to be, sorry, but I'm going to say it, cheap, right, to go after a Jameson Taillon. Like, they would rather go ahead and give up some of these, upside type prospects, but not going to hurt their system, to go for a Jameson Taillon, to bet on the risk and the cheapness to go ahead with the rotation. Because, come on, Jim, let's be serious here. You got Garrett Cole, but you're like number 2 and 3 is Corey Kluber and Jameson Taillon. I mean, are we again not going to call it the Yankees for being cheap?
Yeah, I mean, they're still under the luxury tax threshold.
Well, now if they made that trade with the Red Sox, a salary dump, Jim.
Yeah. So they made the salary dump trade with Boston. So they're now under $210 million. And yeah, I mean, it makes sense because they're a team who could definitely go out there and just sign whoever they wanted, but they aren't. So they decided instead to go the cheaper route, and get Taillon to fill out that rotation. So
right, just want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
But he does come with a lot of risk, and that's why I've said here. I think I've said it on the show, but I was, we've definitely in our texts and such back and forth and stuff. I don't think I would have been upset with virtually any return for Jameson Taillon. I think where I was at was like, if we got a bunch of, sorry to say it, but if you got a bunch of like Will Crows, then maybe, because you know what? There's not a whole lot of upside with him. It's like, right. I don't want just a pitcher in return to fill Jameson Taillon's spot. Let's get something with upside. And let's be honest here. Like, looking at this, there was 4 guys, and for the most part, all 4 do come with upside. I mean, they're all young. The trajectory's way out there. But he got 4 guys for Jameson Taillon, who, again, I'm going to say, coming off a second Tommy John surgery. The numbers aren't there to support that there's a good chance Jameson Taillon will be good again. The numbers are really against him.
Yeah. Now, I would say this, like, if I were to bet on anybody, it's Jameson Taillon. Just, he's gone through so much adversity in his career and just in his life in general that, he's a guy that I'm betting on to bounce back. But you're right. I mean, this is a package that I don't think any other team would have came close to offering this. All four of these guys, again, none of the four of these guys are like top ceiling guys. Like we're not talking about any impact prospects here,
Mm-hmm.
but all of them, like you mentioned, they're young, so they can still develop, and all of them have some upside to them. We'll get into each individual one, I'm sure, here later on, but there's not too much. Like at first, when I saw this, I was like, it's kind of, this seems like it's just a bunch of guys.
Right.
But then after kind of digging deep in it a little bit more, I really like the return. Like I said, none of these guys, I don't know if any of these guys jump into the Pirates top 10. Maybe Miguel Yajure. We'll see once these lists get updated. And I mean, we're seeing some things where, Kanan Smith and Escato may be like borderline top 100 guys next year. So who knows what's going to happen when these updated prospect rankings come out across the boards. But this is a really nice haul. Like I think the Pirates got more for Taillon than they did for Musgrove.
And you know what? Like you're not the first person to say that.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the evaluators of this trade, have said that. And I think I don't know, man. Like I'm with you. Like when I look at this deal, when I first saw it, of course, Twitter's going wild when it's released that the Yankees are close with a deal. So everyone's out there putting out their trade proposals and here's what we're going to get. And if it's anything different, it's terrible and blah, blah, blah. So like you're seeing all these names. And for the most part, as always, the names that you're seeing weren't even tied into it. So, I saw this deal and now, of course, again, personally myself, I'm on the go. So I can't really dive in it. But you're right. When I first saw it, I was like, well, those are different, the names and such. I was like, okay. And there's a lot of them. So once again, my mind's going to the quantity over quality thing. But the more I got to look into this and hearing people, especially you guys in the group chat, you guys are helping me out. But you're right. It's like, no, none of them are there yet. None of them are like, okay, we got a decent product. Like even like in the Musgrove trade, we want to do it like the head, I mean, he's there, he's on that list. He's a recognizable name. He's not a finished product by all means, but he's there. He's got eyes on him. Mm-hmm. Thing about these four is it's like, for the most part, they're not there yet, but they can get there, and all four of them can. So I think you're right. Like when you talk about the package, how it better than the Musgrove deal, I think that's where it's at. Like no one is as good as like the headline was for Musgrove, but all of them can be. Whereas in the Musgrove, there really is just like two of them, I think, for the most part. So that's why I'm definitely intrigued with this, because again, what are you looking at? You're looking at a guy who's coming off his second Tommy John. There's a very plausible chance that Jameson Taillon doesn't make it halfway through the season. There's a very plausible chance that Jameson Taillon pitches, and especially in New York, he's working with a 5 ERA this year. Like the thing about this trade to me is it has three trajectories, which isn't, very uncommon to think about, but it can be a very, very, very good trade, an okay trade, or a very, very bad trade. But it's like 2 out of those 3, you're okay with this. The Yankees could come out. Jameson Taillon could return to form, be a very, very good pitcher. But there's also a very good chance this trade actually works out to be a very perfectly, fair trade, or it could be very, very terrible for the Yankees if Jameson Taillon doesn't do well. So to me, it's like, what? This is the type of deal I would need right now to trade him. Ben Cherington did hit on this with, when getting that return, and I'm very pleased with it.
Yeah, I'm very happy with it. Like, again, it's sad to see. The thing about rebuilds is it sucks as a fan, because like you've seen these guys and you like these guys. Like Jameson Taillon was a guy who, coming up through the minors, he was second overall pick. He received the highest signing bonus in the history of the Major League draft, right? So he's someone who Pirates fans expected, hey, he's going to be part of some winning teams, right?
Right.
And he kind of arrived after the playoff push that we had.
Which also
And
was
so,
very disappointing because he was supposed to
yeah,
be part of that. That's when he got his
yeah,
first Tommy John, which
right,
was very
right.
disheartening. That's one of those moments too. Like I knew where I was. I was actually in a Panera Bread when that happened. If that's weird
Uh,
enough, like when I saw the news, I mean, it was so crushing because that was
yeah,
the year. Cole, now Taillon making it.
yeah,
Anyways, go ahead.
yeah. So it's sad to see him go because he's been a part of this organization now for 11 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so and again, I don't. Both of these guys who were traded, Musgrove and Tyone, like you couldn't have had better guys, representing your organization. They both have carried themselves just unbelievably, both on the field and off the field.
Very true.
So, so that part of the trade sucks. Like we're losing somebody who clearly was an asset to the organization and the community, right? Um, but no, again, the return, I just it's hard to imagine coming up with something better than this. Even if Tyone came back this year, pitched like he was pitching before, this is the type of return I would expect. Like this is the type of return I would expect for like a number 3 starting pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
Which say if he comes back and he is that, then that's yeah. Again, this trade is the return beats out the Musgrove return. I think Hudson Head's probably better than any 4 of these guys, but overall, this package is better than that Padres package.
Yeah.
Which is just shocking to me.
Well, there you go. I don't know if I would have been okay with this trade if Tyone was basically his 2018 self, but at the same time, he would have to build up. I mean, and you lose less control. Like to see that happen and prove himself, you're trading him at the deadline or next off season. With again just 1 year of control left. So I don't know. But regardless, again, like I don't feel like that's what I get at. Like if Jameson Taillon was pitching as like a number 3, number 4 starter, right? Coming after a second Tommy John, which even that defies the odds for the most part. This is a fair trade, like you're saying. So that's why like I don't hate this trade at all. This is actually probably, again, now looking into it, better than I would have anticipated for Jameson Taillon. If we got just 2 of these guys, I'd have been like, you know what? That makes sense. I'm cool with this. But the fact that we got 4 of them and looking into them, as you mentioned, seeing what they can do, there's a chance that, a couple of these guys can definitely be on the future Pirates roster. And to me, with the direction this club is going right now and the trades that they have made, it makes sense. I mean, this farm has really, really gotten deeper. And that's the one thing we talked about with this farm.
Insane.
It wasn't terrible to begin with coming into this offseason. Like, it wasn't terrible. The issue was it had some depth here, but no like real stars. And man, Jim, like the depth now, this farm is tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, I would say going into the offseason, the Pirates had one of the deepest, farm systems in baseball, and they've just added to it. Fangraphs, I think, tweeted out that there's 26 prospects now with a future value of 40 or higher.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you assign. So, I mean, just to kind of give you an idea, that's what you assign like a second round pick. If you draft somebody in the second round, that's a 40 plus future value pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this organization now has 26 of those. So there's 26 players in this draft that are basically second round talents or better.
Right.
Again, like the impact maybe not there. You've got Hayes, Cruz, Gonzalez, Priester.
Priester now.
There's some guys there. Priester now, yeah.
And speaking of that, just to kind of pivot here, Jameson Taillon on apparently an exit video, which exit interviews are the hot topic now around Pittsburgh. But in Jameson Taillon's exit interview with Rob Biertempfel, he talks about, which this just was just crazy to me because I've never seen, I think, a player get traded away and then talk about their organization, like the guys that are going to be replacing them. But I mean, it's Jameson Taillon, like you mentioned, such a great dude. Of course, it's going to be him. But yeah, he had like nothing but praise for Quinn Priester, saying he's the real deal. Pittsburgh's got a good one in him. So thanks, Jameson.
Yeah, so I think the organization is just flush with talent right now, and I mean, just odds are going to tell you that some of these guys are going to pan out. Hopefully we have a good development system in place now, a better one than we had before. That's really what it seems like Charrington is now gambling on is, hey, let's develop this talent that we have. And if they're able to do it, then you're looking at having some good talent coming up here in the next 2-3 years, because he has really loaded up this organization with a bunch of guys who are all talented and have upside. Just need to get there.
And that's exactly what it is. And this trade, again, just really helps solidify that. Because you're right. The Pirates system is still that way. There's no stars in it. You can't compare it to, the Padres, because the Padres had very, very top end talent. They were deep as hell too, but they had very, very clear stars, top end talent. Of course, some like Tatis Jr. has graduated. Right now, it's just depth, a lot of good depth. But the thing is, they're mostly young, and of course, this is the other thing that complicates everything is we've lost the 2020 minor league season. Like this could have been the year some of these guys did take that next step, and now you're saying, oh wow, like look at this guy, he's really good. I like this trade, but we didn't get to see that. Especially with young guys, a lot of these guys could have been hitting Double-A, like the upper minors, to see how well they perform, and we don't get to see that. So that's the thing.
Right.
Like right now, it's still very deep, but we're a few years away from some of these guys potentially becoming, right? Like they're starting to hit that high ceiling and becoming impactful type players. So it seems to me like, the overall rebuild, how it's going right now, the type of guys he's getting. Yes, there's no clear stars, but there's a lot of potential that you're right. It's all coming on the development side right now. If they can develop these guys and have them starting hitting, a lot of these guys close to their ceiling and stuff, you're right. Not only will we be deep in a few years, but not going to go out there and say and compare with the San Diego Padres, but like that's what you're looking at. You can definitely be a very, very deep team with a lot of impactful players. And mind you, Jim, like we do have the number 1 pick this year. And if this roster tells us anything, if you can go to the Rivers Casino right now and bet like $1 million that the Pirates are going to have a top 3 pick in 2022, I would do that. If it were me and I won Powerball, I would flip that by betting all of my money that the Pirates are going to win. I say it that way. Win a top 3 draft pick in 2022 because that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing that you got to look at here is not only have they done this through these trades, but yeah, they're about to add the number 1 talent in the draft. They're about to add the next year probably the number 1 talent, but like you mentioned, at least top 3. Like they're going to lose a lot of games this year.
If I had $1 billion, I would bet 250 million of that on the number 1. I'm very confident it's probably number 1, but top 3 for sure, guaranteed.
Yeah,
there's
the Donardo's
picks.
Games. Yep. So that's just gonna add even more talent into the system, and there's still there's a trade maybe to still be made on this team when it comes to guys who can bring back some value. So it's exciting to be able to talk about something. The major league team is probably not going to be very exciting this year, but there's definitely going to be some things to watch. Again, I'm excited. I'm super excited for this minor league season, because I said we didn't have it last year. So being able to see all these guys in 2021 play competitive baseball, that's going to be great.
Right. I'm with you. And maybe we'll get into the prospects a little bit here individually. So as you mentioned, to start with the first one, Miguel Yajure, signed out of Venezuela. Jim, international dollars, international money, international spending, baby. So yes, signed out of Venezuela for $30,000 in 2015. He did have Tommy John. Now I look at it this way, and I think I mean it seems like a lot of organizations do as well. Like he had Tommy John in 2017. We're talking about Taillon. I mean, not to sound hypocritical, but one Tommy John, it's like, who cares anymore? You know, the second one is what's worrisome.
Right.
So he had the Tommy John, and in my mind too, it's like, all right, so he's gotten it out of the way, so we're good. Out of the way, we're taken care of. But this guy, like, is starting to rise through their system, as you mentioned. I mean, he's got good stuff. His fastball is increasing in velocity. The one thing that jumped out to me too, like on the two arms that we got, they can spin it, Jim. And you know, we do like to talk about spin rates here and there. You know, there is some meaning to it. It's not the end all be all as well, but that's something I definitely picked up and saw here. Is I mean, these guys can spin the ball. So it's like if they can develop, as we've been talking, like there's something here with these guys. So you know, I said Yahuri as mentioned, he's 22, so he's closest.
Yeah, so Yahore
He's the
actually made the majors last year. So he pitched for the New York Yankees a few games. He pitched 7 innings, gave up 1 run, struck out 8, walked 5. So struggled a little bit with the control, but definitely, you know, he didn't blow up, right? He held his own, right, at age 22, with the Yankees last year. So that was good to see. And yeah, you mentioned the numbers, the spin rate, the StatCast stuff. All love him. He's a starting pitcher. He's got the body for it. He's got looking at him pitch, just his windup. It's a repeatable delivery. He looks like a starting pitcher in the majors. And at 8, and like he looks at age 22, like he doesn't, like it's not even like he really needs to grow into his body anymore. Like he looks the part. Not overpowering stuff, but good enough. I think it's going to be more about executing his pitches is going to be the important part for him if he wants to be successful. But I mean, you look at his minor league numbers and they're off the charts, like great minor league numbers. Right. Just dominated every level that he's been at. You mentioned the Tommy John surgery. But no, I think this definitely is the main piece of, like, if you were going to, I guess, call a main piece right now, Yahore is probably the main piece. The guy probably has a shot at making the Pirates rotation out of spring training. You know, I wouldn't be surprised.
That's very plausible, especially this.
Yeah, rotation. I mean, he could make this team as a starting pitcher out of spring training. Yeah, but fastball 90, 95, 12-6 curveball. You know, very good slider, cutter. He's got 5 pitches, so the guy's got a full repertoire. But yeah, I like him. Like when I was looking through some guys, he was someone who I definitely liked. He's going to be someone who, like I said, high floor. You know, it seems like I said, he's already in the majors at age 22.
Right.
He's somebody who should contribute on this team for the foreseeable future.
There you go. And so one thing about the rankings I want to put out there. So Baseball America has released their top 10 for every organization, the updated ones for 2021. Baseball Prospectus released their top 101. MLB's releasing their like top 10 positional like prospects, but no actual rankings per se. So what I'm going to say is he does slide. He is like the number 7 prospect in the Yankee system when he was there, according to Baseball America, which is updated. In MLB Pipeline, he does slide to the Pirates number 14 prospect, but those also aren't updated to this year. The top 100 at MLB is going to be released like the end of this week, so the new ranking should be out soon. Again, he's number 14 in the Pirates system as of right now. I mean, that might stay, but still, I mean, you're looking at him at 14. He's still like above Bay, right below Bolton. I mean, again, it more goes to the show of how deep the Pirate system is now. You know, he is definitely a talent, and right, I'm intrigued by him. I do think we'll see him this year. Out the gate, I don't know. I mean, of course, how the Pirates like to operate. It's
Yeah.
possible he could, but certainly. So, and the next one, I'm gonna butcher this. So, you got to help me out, Jim. But Roansy Contreras, is it Roansy?
Roansy Contreras, I think that's
Awesome,
right. Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. So another guy. Of course, he's younger. Um, Same thing though. Like, I mean, he definitely spins it. He's got the fastball up there. You know, I think with him, he can. I think he has more upside. You know, the floor isn't as good as as we just mentioned with Yahuri, but he's. I think in my mind, he's got more upside. Like when I really looked into him, I was very intrigued by his stuff.
Um, yeah. Again, he's hasn't pitched since 2019. Wasn't at the the Yankees secondary site there,
Oh,
so
you know,
there's
my
not a
bad. I
whole
want to
lot of.
apologize. The opposite. His ceiling isn't there, but he's got a very good floor. No, it was Yahuri I was looking at. I do like his
Okay.
stuff. My bad. Anyways,
Yeah. So Contreras is out of the four, probably. I mean, I'm good with him, but I'm probably the least high on him. But again, I think he is someone who could be a major league starting pitcher. I don't know how great he's necessarily going to be. But again, you look at his minor league numbers, they're all great. The peripherals aren't exactly what you'd want to see from him. Maybe you want to see some more strikeouts out of a guy, in single A ball. But again, he's young, so he's got some time to develop. International guy. So, maybe it takes him a little bit longer, maybe an additional year or two. But it'll be interesting to see how he does. But another arm with potential that you're throwing into the system. So I say he's loading up on guys like this.
yes, and of course arms himself. Like they definitely, you can tell he's loading up on arms. Like in every deal, there's definitely
Yep.
been a lot of arms. This one, 4 guys, 2 arms, 2 positional players. So let's get to the next one, Kanan Smith. Now we're moving away from pitchers, right? Got ourselves a hitter here, and there's a lot to like about this guy. Of course, thing that stands out, everyone's been talking, the hardest contact rate, right? The hardest exit velocity among the Yankees here. The guy makes some really good contact. He's got some speed. He's got some power. Maybe not. If you're going to compare who has the highest ceiling, and I just like to do this because, of course, he's a newer prospect, Hunter Head or Kanan Smith, who are you going with?
I'm going Hudson Head has higher ceiling
And I said
than
Hunter.
Kanan Smith.
Hudson Head.
No, so, but with Kanan Smith, I think I think what you're again, it's a more of a high floor guy.
That's going to be the next question then. Yeah, who's the higher floor?
So like he has shown that he can hit, right? So he can hit, and he can hit for average. He can hit the ball hard. Who knows if the power is going to get there or not? It's really going to come down to his swing. But he hits the ball hard. He hits the ball for average. Baseball America named him the best hitter for average in the Yankees system, which is that's an accomplishment right there. So he plays outfield, corner outfielder. So I think he's 20. He's 21. Yeah, 21 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I've seen on him, he's kind of already grown into his body. So he's kind of maxed out his frame. So that'll be the one thing to look at is, has he already reached his physical peak? Is he, can he get bigger? Can he hit for more power? I don't know. So that'll be just something that we look at. I would guess he's probably someone who's like, maybe slated for AA, this coming season. So look to see how he does. But yeah, as far as hitters go, he's going to immediately become, one of the Pirates' top outfield prospects. He's probably top 3 or 4 outfield prospect now. And in some lists had him as a dark horse candidate for a top 100. So
right.
I know Eric at Fangraphs, Eric Longenhagen really likes him, and actually had him as somebody, moving into the top 100 for next year. So depending on kind of how he does this year, he's one of the guys he had on his board.
And that's another thing I want to kind of pick up on here too. So, we've mentioned how the Pirate system has been pretty deep. No real stars. One thing I think they've been lacking on as far as position though has been outfield, and they've definitely right now in these couple trades have brought in two impactful type of guys. Like you said, like Hunter Head. You definitely see not Hunter. Sorry. I don't know why that's gonna be my name, I guess, this year.
That's gonna be your thing. Yeah.
There you go. And then Kane Smith, like both these guys, and it's just as we mentioned, I mean, they're not there yet, but they can be. But they definitely have the ability to be an impactful outfielder. So again, like just deepening out. Our middle infield's pretty deep right now and talented. We do add another one in this trade. So again, Mikael Escotto. You had some love getting into this conversation about Escotto. I know a lot of people do. Again, we're talking about a young. This guy is now 18. Give it up, Jim. Tell us about Escotto.
I mean, I think he's the one who I'm most excited about in this trade. He definitely has the most upside out of everyone. Again, super young, so he's far off. But you look at what he did in the Dominican Summer League in 2019, and he just tore the league up. Just absolutely tore it up. Hit 315 with a 429 on base percentage and a 552 slugging percentage. Just killed the ball. And that was at age 17. So he's now going to be in the States, right? So he will now face way better competition. But yeah, he is 18 years old. And you got to love the upside here. He played second base mostly in 2019, but from what I'm hearing, the Pirates are going to make him a shortstop, which is what he is naturally, but the Yankees just had a lot of depth there, so he was just playing second base. So Pirates are going to bring him up as a shortstop. And again, this is the one that I'm mostly looking forward to seeing because he has a ton of upside. He also has a very low floor. Like who knows what he's going to be.
Right.
But
it's a wild card.
There's some potential here for something pretty special just based off of those Dominican numbers. Since we didn't get to see him at all, this last year, and he wasn't in fall instructs. So there's really no data on him over the last year. Mm-hmm. So did he get better? I don't know. So like I said, he's probably the guy out of these four that I'm most excited to see how he can perform in 2021. Just to see, okay, is this the guy who's going to take that next step? Because he's someone where if he takes that next step, then he is a top 100 prospect. Like based off of those Dominican numbers, if he comes over to the United States and he does that here, he's a top 100 prospect. If he doesn't, then he's not. so that's what I'm most excited about is seeing him this year, seeing if he can take that step.
Right. And I think that's a great way of summing up this whole thing again. And I probably minus Contreras, all these guys have that upside that you're talking in a year or two. These guys could be in top 100 lists. Now you're talking about a very impactful guy, not just depth. Mm-hmm. And that's just in this trade. So I'm with you. And right, you have to just be drooling over Escotto right now. Like you said, seeing those numbers. So to put out here, he was 8th in the Dominican in 2019 in OPS. He had the OPS of 981. And right, as a middle infielder who I know it's so far away, he's so young, but as of right now, again, he does look as to be, whether it's short or second, a middle infielder. So, probably not going to be pushed off to outfield or third base, potentially, as of right now. So, to have another middle infielder with an impactful bat like that, we know how exciting that can be. I mean, there's only a guy called, Cruz in our system. Who is that? Which I still don't think he's going to be a middle infielder, but we're still there. We're calling him a shortstop right now. But right. I mean, like that's intriguing. This guy can flat out hit. He was dominating down there, and he's a shortstop. So yeah, to really sum up this package for me, I do. I'm not in love with it, right? But I'm very intrigued by like I want to see these guys develop and see where they can go because this can definitely be a win for the Pirates so easily, unfortunately. Um
Well, I mean, I look at it just Yahori, like based off of what I've seen, he alone should at least become an average big league starter. Like I think I think that's what he could be. So again, I'm really impressed with this package that Charrington was able to get. Really excited about some of these guys. Contreras, I'm not like super high on, but the other three, I really like. Like I said, Yahori, I don't think the upside is there for him to be like an ace or anything, but I think
right.
I think he's a major league starting pitcher, which that alone is valuable, right? For 2 years of a Taillon coming off a second Tommy John, so I think him alone, it's going to be hard to call this deal a failure just based off of him. Like I think he's going to provide some value, and then the other guys, like I said, it's just pure upside. Yeah, I'm excited to see what these guys can do.
And you know,
I'm,
so
like I said, more excited about this trade than the Musgrove trade. So I can't
that's
stress that
fair.
enough.
That's fair. Yeah. I think there's more intriguing people to keep your eye on for the next few years.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I wanted to get that to that point too. So, like you mentioned, we're talking about win and losses and such, and it's so unfair to really say that to any trade right when it happens, but to this one especially. But what I just want to put out there too, because we know it's going to happen, of course. Like I'm talking the likelihood of Jameson Taillon being a very very good pitcher is very very low, but as people who watch the Pirates and follow him along, deep down inside, he's going to be a star. And I hope he is. Like, I wish nothing but
Yes.
that for him because
Right.
he is. Like, he's such a great guy. There's no one I would bet money on more than him to do it. What he's already endured and come back from, he's mentally capable of this. This is nothing for him. So, he has the ability to do that. But what I want to say right now as well, because again, as we know it's going to happen, see a bit facetiously, but if Jameson Taillon comes out and he becomes this star, right? He goes to New York and Cole's leading the way and he's back there and we're seeing what Cole and Taillon should be for the Pirates, right? We see that out of Jameson. This is still a win for me. Like I'm not going to look at this and say did the wrong thing. I don't believe we did the wrong thing. If this was the package that we got, by no means did I want Ben Charrington to keep Taillon go into the season and try to get more out of him. To me, it's just too damn risky. Too risky. And I know we talked about living in our fears before, but but like to me, this is a good package. Like as we mentioned, like if Jameson Taillon is a good pitcher, a productive pitcher, this is still probably a very good package for it. Like I think the only way you could look at this and say, oh, the Pirates got fleeced again is if Taillon goes out there and becomes a stud. But I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly okay for that happening.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with everything you just said. I hope he does come out and makes the trade look bad. Honestly, that would be I'd be fine with that. And I don't think it would really change the fact that the Pirates were going to have to trade Taillon anyways,
Mhm.
right? And I really don't. The odds of him becoming a pitcher who could get more than this package just are not high. Again, I hope he gets there, but the odds just based off of everything that we've seen with pitchers coming off of a second Tommy John surgery, this is not the type of package that you would typically get for a pitcher coming off a second Tommy John.
Agree. Actually,
So,
has anyone gotten a package? Like that's the other thing. Why I'm shocked again. Like, what's the precedent for this? When has any team traded for a guy coming off a second Tommy John without even seeing him?
He hasn't pitched at all.
right?
Like he's still throwing bullpen sessions right now.
Like that's why
Mhm.
I am baffled that this is what we got. So again, like for me going back to saying I probably wouldn't be upset with any trade we had. Like if it was just your hurry, I would have been okay. I'd have been like, you know what, here's what we got in return. I'm cool with it. But like we got two other high upside wild cards, and Contreras with this. Like I'm very, very happy with this deal. And you're right. Like no matter how
Mhm.
Jameson produces, this is a very solid package. What the Pirates are wanting him to do.
I agree.
All
I'm
right.
happy with it.
I'm trying to think. Was there something else that we wanted to dive in or talk about?
I think that was everything for the most part.
Okay. All right. Well, then I guess there
Yeah.
you have it.
Yeah.
Well, here's some news. So Tanaka's in negotiations with Japan. So all this talk about him potentially going back
Interesting.
looks as if we're there. So the impact of Jameson Taillon going back, or not back, going to New York, pretty much the deal. Tanaka's not going to New York, and it looks like he's going over.
That's interesting.
Wow, that's crazy. That's
because you would think some team out there would be throwing out a lot of money for Tanaka.
Yeah, I guess I want to know how much they're going to give him to make sense, but I guess maybe this is how we can pivot, because this was a guy I was kind of thinking about. Pirates. So actually, I did want to bring up something else. Ottavino.
The Pirates aren't spending that much money.
No, but Ottavino. So I guess it was kind of funny how this deal happened, and then the next day Ottavino was salary dumped to the Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why not the Pirates? Are you up in arms that the Pirates didn't go ahead and try to make that package bigger by adding Ottavino to it? Because he's a potential, trade deadline flip piece. Okay.
I mean, I would have certainly been in favor of that happening. If that was ever on the table, I would have been all for the Pirates adding a bad contract to get a better prospect or get higher value prospects in return. That's something that I feel like this team can certainly do, especially with the payroll with where it's at right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of something we should be actively looking to do, is either take on a contract for prospects or, I said again, sign somebody here to see if we can generate some value at the trade deadline, because right now they still have not signed a free agent this year. And I don't even know who's going to play center field right now. I have no idea who our center fielder is going to be.
It's going to be Alfred.
They could clearly add some pitching.
What's Dyson up to these days? Can we get him? Can we get him back to the Pirates? Pay him for some more international money, even though you can't.
I don't know. Well, he signed with us last year because there wasn't anything else out there.
He wasn't too pleased with it, so
we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I guess that's the one last point I want to bring up. It was kind of weird that happened the next day, which I know like the Yankees did it, so they can of course clear some money. But yeah, it was like, well, Pittsburgh, like Cherington, why weren't you just going and do this then? Like, why didn't you expand upon it? So I don't know. I guess what it tells me, I don't know. For one, if either Cherington just wasn't pleased with what it would have done to the package, like for him, I don't really care to get, because it's not as if the Red Sox got a good prospect for him. I mean, there's not a whole lot of upside in Frank, whatever his name was, can't think of the top of my head. But there's not a whole lot of upside with him, so it's not like I got a good package. I guess the thing is that if Ottavino is good, you can flip him at the deadline. Right. But it's like, I don't know. Maybe if he has $10 million to play with, maybe I guess his mind is it's not going to be on Ottavino. But yeah, to me that was like that perfect type of player, because he's been very productive. Of course, 2020 was a weird year. Wasn't that great of a season for him. Mainly came in one outing. But yeah, I don't know. So I guess it's not so much the Ottavino himself. Like that one I'm not going crazy about. It's just the fact that it wasn't done makes me believe are we going to see the Pirates do that? Or is it Nutting saying, no, we're not spending money? To me,
I mean,
this speaks where it's like, I don't know if we're going to
so
see too many signings to try to
it's not really
do
something
much
that
with.
they've done in the past. It's not something they've done in the past either.
I know, but also, I mean, we talk about parallel. It's never been like this pathetic.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't expect the Pirates to do anything like that. Honestly,
No.
I'm in the boat right now where I don't see this team spending money.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. I really think that this payroll is going to be probably below $40 million start the season.
It's gonna be bad.
And if it's not, it's gonna be like right at 40, 41,
Yeah.
something like that. Because we know like
Yep.
Frazier's probably getting traded too, and see. All right. So that was pretty much it. Anything else you wanted to touch on?
That's it. I gotta get to my real job now.
Oh boy. All right. We're out of here. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
See you guys.